You are listening to Insights with Kathleen. Please join me while I share my insights and experiences with the hope to inspire you to look inside of yourself for the answers that you already have. As with all information we receive, take what speaks to you and leave the rest. Hey Sherry, thanks for coming and talking with me today.
Why, thank you, Kathleen. Thanks for having me on your show.
Oh, you're welcome. So what do you have on your mind?
Okay, so what I have on my mind today is like kind of something I've been dealing with for a couple weeks now. So there was this girl and there's another girl and I've just been having crushes or dating, and I don't know, it's kind of been really weird because now I'm in a phase right now where I'm just cutting off dating apps and stuff like that and just trying to get in touch with myself, but it's weird. I feel like I'm in a weird funk for some reason. I just wanted to come to you and talk to you about it.
Okay, so tell me a little bit more about the weird. What is it that is it that you feel like you don't have an anchor, or you don't have somebody to put your attention on, or do you just feel weird that you're spending time with you?
Well, I mean, a little bit of both. I haven't gotten a chance to know Sherry or anything like that, and I'm just so used to. I'm a serial crusher. I don't even know if that's a real thing, but that's what I do. If I'm not having a crush on someone, usually 10 minutes later. So I've gone from crush to dating to crush, and it's weird not having all of my attention on one person, which I don't think that's super healthy, but that's kind of where I've been right now.
All right, so do you think that, you know what, let's do it this way. What do you think about why you do that?
Honestly, truthfully, it's super addictive. When you get a crush on someone, it's almost this chemical feeling, and then you're just whoa, this is I'm on top of the world. It's euphoria, and it's just oh, and it's the mystery and the chase and all that stuff.
Yeah, I totally get that, and I know I love that feeling too.
Right?
Because it is kind of the best feeling in the world.
Yeah.
Some of the things that I've experienced or learned through that feeling. So for me, in the past, I'd be like you, I just want that feeling. I want that feeling that somebody loves me.
Right.
I want to be loved.
I know.
And then you have this feeling, you think that person is making you feel that way.
Yeah.
And what's really cool, what I discovered recently, is it's really not that person. It's you. That person's just an amplifier for what you already have inside of you.
I could have a crush on myself.
Yeah, you could be your own prince.
Oh my God, I could be my own, wow, trademark right here. I love that. It's just weird because I guess I have to deal with my emotions now because I just recently got out of something and I thought it was going to be something, but it wasn't. And now I'm just stuck here with these feelings. And before I would just usually be all right, on to the next crush. Let's do it, or let's date someone else. But now I'm here. And I'm taking in all these emotions, and I'm I don't like this feeling.
Yeah, because it's unsettling, right?
It is.
And
Yeah.
what do you do with that, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But I think that it's good to take that time to be with you, because let's face it, you can't run away from yourself.
That's
very
people
have certainly tried.
People do.
They've tried, and maybe in many very creative ways, from abuse. Drugs or alcohol or just denial, and then what happens is those emotions and those feelings that you're feeling just keeps getting buried, and it takes a lot longer to start unpacking it. So what I would recommend, if you haven't considered this already, is in between these crushes, take some time out, slow down, take a breath, maybe journal a little bit, write down what did you like about that, what did you not like about, because that's just as important to know, right?
Yeah, yeah,
right. And then also get to know you a little bit more and be kind to you and love you, because you know what, personally, I like your company. I don't see how you could not enjoy your company.
I enjoy your company too, and I think you're right about that. It's just weird. I don't know if you've gotten crushes and they're different every time, because I know for me, some of them feel like I'm riding a broken roller coaster and I'm about to die at any second. Some of them it's a glass of fresh water. So it's it's weird. I guess like the roller coaster ones I seem to be more attractive to, which that's not always the best.
Well, and sometimes, if you're actually having conversations with these crushes, right, and there seems to be this interaction that happens, whether it's a brief interaction or a little bit longer, is just working through whether or not this is a viable relationship or a viable pursuit. It's an opportunity still for you to get to know you.
Oh, for sure.
None of it's wasted.
Yeah.
And I personally believe that people come into our lives, even if it's for a split second, to impart a gift to us and us impart a gift to them. And they may not always be so evident as to what that gift is.
Yeah.
And sometimes the gift doesn't always feel so pretty.
No, it does not. I've been there, and I'm just like, this is awful. I didn't want to learn this.
But without, oversharing some of the things that you have already shared with me in the past and in previous conversations, the one thing that I really admire about you is that you're willing to open yourself up. You're willing to open your heart up, and you're willing to see where's this going to go.
Oh, right? Yeah, for
and
sure.
you enjoy the journey.
I do.
And I know that in the past that you've gotten ahead of yourself and ahead of where things were, right? Just out of sheer excitement.
Yes.
And because you really love that feeling, right? And
I know.
that enthusiasm over the top, and people will be like, whoa, way too much, right? But you amaze me in the way of how you've grown in that area, and you've done a little bit of a self-check, and you're like, oh, you know what? Yeah, I need to pull back. Or not even just that, it's just self-love, right? Because the person's not giving equally back, right? And that's a hard one.
Oh yeah, it's hard, and I've been doing that.
And that's a big topic that we're talking about right now. We're just like skirting the edges. Because there's a lot of nuances and a lot of pieces to dig deep in. And I would recommend, and I still recommend,
yes,
I found this person on YouTube.
Oh, nice.
His pen name is Brian Knox.
How do you spell that?
So Brian, Brian.
Not brain, guys.
Yeah. Because I could invert that. And the last name Knox is N, like Nancy,
right?
OX. And if you just put a .com on the end, you can probably find his own channel. He's pretty cool. Actually, he has a dry sense of humor. It cracks me up with just how he presents information. But he has different little snippets out there. He's a writer. He's written on this subject, and mostly for women, which I'd be really interested to have your perspective, because a woman dating a woman, like does that still work? I'm sure Brian doesn't have that perspective, but that would still be kind of cool. And I think that there's still a lot of information in there that's really good to use, because he talks about, he doesn't come right out and say, but it's like all woven into the different messages that he puts out there and the different suggestions, and basically it's very enlightening. I wish I would have had it. It's kind of like a nice little manual to have growing up, because my mom never put that together, so it wasn't like something she could ever teach me, and I kind of stumbled through life trying to figure this out and did all the wrong things.
Gosh,
so but it's about self-love. It's about feeling secure in who you are, not being needy, because needy detracts. I don't care if you're male, female, or what, but needy is not something any of us really want to come across being. And if we are needy, then I think that's even a bigger signal to spend more time with yourself, to figure out, okay, why do I feel this way? Like what is it in me that I feel is missing? And work on that.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And then become a little more whole, because again, if we go back to what I had said earlier, that people in our lives just amplify what's already inside of us.
That actually gives me like a lot of insight, to be honest with you, because I feel like the company, no pun intended, but I remember like when I would have these like crushes or whatever, I had a group of friends at the time, and they also constantly needed to be in relationships, or constantly needed, so I was around that environment. And you're right, that almost like that amplifies that, because I feel like it just kind of was like I was feeding into that more.
Right. And then if we got into the more esoterical aspect of it, right? Like attracts like. So where are you vibrationally? And that's what you're attracting in.
Oh gosh, yeah. Oh, no, you're right though, because now that I come to think about it, I was like, I always felt the need to be in a relationship or have crushes, and like the group of people that I would hang out with, they were always like that. So we just fed off of each other, and it was just like such a destructive cycle, I feel like, because then you're just trying to date someone for the wrong reasons, I feel.
Right. And do you feel like when you were doing that, where do you feel that you were in that point in time? Do you feel that maybe you were needy? Or do you feel that you were strong and stood in your own power?
We all know it was the A. We all know. I was like, we were all so codependent on each other, and it was so bad. And then we would get into relationships, and then we're very codependent on them. And I look back, and I was like, oh, that was not good.
Right, but you know what? You're young.
Yeah.
And it's
and so
about,
are you.
Oh, you're so lovely. Life really is about the experience, right? So
yes.
So don't judge. Don't judge. And I'm not saying that you're judging.
No, of course.
I would say to anyone who's listening, if you feel that somehow maybe you failed in something or something didn't go so well and maybe you're blaming yourself, give yourself a hug, okay? Because it really is about the experience. We're here to have an experiment in life.
Yeah.
But the biggest thing I think that we're here to do is really to learn about love and what love isn't. And having relationships and crushes and things like that are part of that process, for sure. But I think that the biggest piece of it is self-love.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's not to say self-conceit or, any of those other things that people will automatically place onto self-love. Like, well, if I practice self-love, well, then I'm being conceited or I'm being selfish. It's not so. It's kind of like the airplane scenario, right? If we're riding in an airplane, there's an emergency. What does the flight attendant tell you? Put the oxygen mask on yourself first, and then assist someone else. Because how are you going to assist somebody else if you're passing out on the floor?
Exactly. You're right. You just like work on yourself first. And it's funny just because I remember someone saying, like, I don't know what it was, but it was something about how their biggest quality that they like is when you're not like conceited or not super cocky. But like, I think you were telling me like sometimes, you could say you did a good job or like, I'm pretty good at that. And that's fine.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to feel guilt about that.
Yeah. And sometimes I think it makes other people uncomfortable only because it's an aspect inside of themselves that they're uncomfortable with.
Yeah.
I know that I faced a lot of that. I come across as an extremely confident individual.
Yeah, you are. Yes, you are.
Especially when I was younger, like in my 20s.
Yeah.
I had no clue. I had no clue what was going on. In fact, I think I walked more in darkness then than ever in my whole entire life. It's like, just bumping into stuff and trying to figure it out as I went and like pounding my head like, why is this just not working?
Yeah.
But on the outside, people just thought I had it all together.
I mean, I don't know. I love when you walk into a room because you have like your shoulders back and you just like walk with this like air of confidence. And it's like, I think people are super attracted to confidence because it's just like, oh, I love that. Like, what I want to talk to her as opposed to like, someone who just likes, but.
And they could be, and then again, it depends on where are they in their journey, right? And in their journey of self-love, where are they? Because then there's people who are uncomfortable with that level of self-confidence. Yeah. Because maybe they've squished theirs, or somehow theirs has a little bit of a hole in it, and they're trying to mend it, or who knows why. But there's many reasons why people could behave in that manner, and I think on the receiving end, right, as we're growing into loving and respecting ourselves, and people may judge us on setting a no boundary, like here's my boundary. I need this time alone for me, and some people may judge that. Oh yeah, especially like when you get a little older and you're maybe a young married couple or young family with people and children, and you're drawing that line. You're saying, no, you know what? My kids need to be with somebody else right now. I need this time alone. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And sometimes people get judged for that. Oh wow. And or sometimes people will judge their friends, their single friends, because they don't want to go out drinking or partying because they need this time alone, right? And then they get razzed and they get harassed. Well, that's when you really need to stand strong and loving yourself and pushing back, or just sending them love and saying, okay, well, you're allowed to have that.
Yeah,
you
go
know,
to the bar. I'm just gonna stay with my kids.
No sweat off my brow. That's your problem. Like if you take on their critique or their pushback, you know, and then you're swirling in that, then you've welcomed that in. You chose to welcome that in. And the thing is just to push back and just say, yeah, you know, send your love. That's okay. You're allowed to think that, but I know what's really going on. I'm loving me.
Oh, of course.
You know, and nobody else can love you better than you.
No, they can't. And it's funny when you're talking about like journeys, like spiritual journeys or whatever. But have you ever like met someone? Well, this has happened to me. This actually happened to me when I met you or whatever. And I realized I was like, you know, a little further back in my spiritual journey. And then like as like, you know, matured a little bit or whatever, I was like, wow, I connect so well with this person now. But if I were to meet them like 5 years ago, I'd be like, wow, we are like not even speaking the same language.
Yeah, and that comes back to those vibrational alignments, right?
Oh yeah, it's very cool because I could tell like the people I was friends with in high school versus like in college versus like right now. I'm just like, oh, this is like so weird. Yeah. Like look at me talk about like you talk about self-care and me being like, yeah, like before I would have been like, what are you talking about? I just need to date someone and I'll be fine.
Right, but I think that you realized, because you're the one who'd fought for this. You're the one who started talking to people that you felt were wise enough to give some good insights to you, right? And it's because you initiated that. You did that. That's a sign of self-love for yourself. Kind of like this question that you're bringing up about the crushes and the dating and, you know, so I would encourage you to look inside and say, okay, what is it that I'm looking for from them? What is it that I feel like I might be missing? And I'm looking for it outside of me. And then once you think you figure that out, then look inside of yourself and give it to yourself. I know it's such a weird concept.
That's so hard. What? So I have to figure out what I'm looking for in these partners and figure it out in myself. I guess like that comfort feeling like of, I don't know.
Well, yeah, and it's hard because there's that aspect of the physical aspect, the human physical aspect, that it just feels so good to have somebody touch you, so good to cuddle up next to somebody, so good to be kissed, right?
Yeah.
That just feels so good. But it's more than that, because that really, truthfully, when we're in partnership with someone or we're in a relationship with someone, that's just a tiny percentage. I mean, we can't all walk around in public hanging on to each. Well, we could, but
some people do.
But I'm saying, you know, at some point you do have to separate and take care of bodily functions. You do have to separate, you know, and
bodily functions.
Yeah, like using the restroom, taking a shower, maybe going to sleep.
That's nice. I would hope people are doing that.
But that's my point being is that the physical aspect, it's really small in comparison to what happens for the rest of the day, right?
Yeah.
So separate that out. That to me is like the cherry on top, okay? So, but still back it up. Mm-hmm. Why do I feel the need to want to have that crush feeling? What is it about that feeling?
Honestly, you know, now that you're saying it, I think it just gives me like a giant distraction, because I know I've talked to you before about how I make lovely grand gestures, because that's just a thing that I do. And I think like having that just distracts me from like maybe like dealing with myself, dealing with issues outside of that, and being like, well, I'm just going to focus and zero in.
Do you think that maybe the big grand gestures that you do is because you just want to see somebody lit up?
I do.
Okay, so what if the grand gestures doesn't have to be done to a potentially romantic partner? What if you can have an outlet and do that grand gesture to somebody else who maybe might be in need, or a family member, or girlfriend, like not a girlfriend, dating girlfriend, but a friend.
When you have to clarify, because I'm gay. That's funny. Yeah, my friend that's a girl, my girlfriend. I was talking with my friend about this, and I think I realized why I do this. I do it for like almost not for the shock value, but like to make them feel good. But I think it's because I had like not an issue, but I just have an issue with myself where I'll see romantic movies and I'll see all these things and I'll think the things on TV are things that are applicable in real life when they are not. And you always see the guy do like weird things. And I'm a lesbian. I'm like, well, where do I fit in this thing? I guess I'm gonna do the man's part because no one's giving anything to it. So I'm just like, oh yeah, they did a grand job. I think like, I don't know, in The Notebook or something like that, this guy is like threatening to like fall off of like a carousel for some reason. And that's supposed to be to get a date because that's romantic. Or you'll see, I don't know, like just all these things. And then my friend is like, Sherry, I think you like kind of mimic that because you think that's what you're supposed to do. And I don't think she's entirely wrong because I still love doing them and I would do it anyway. And I've done it for my friends. But I think part of me is like trying to fit myself in a mold that I don't really even need to be fitting in. Mm-hmm. So.
Yeah. So if I'm hearing you right.
Yes.
It sounds like you're trying to, as you're integrating yourself more into your sexuality, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And then how do you date?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I think that I get the sense that you're taking what is considered traditional relationships,
yeah,
right? And then you're trying to fit it into this untraditional, kind of relationship. Why not just be you? Why not just stop trying to mimic entertainment?
Yeah, I do like that.
And just be you. Take the pressure off of you. And again, this is where Brian Knox, if you're ever listening, man, I'm just telling you
promoter, man.
You hit this on the nail. I mean, he does write books too.
Okay.
And it is for women who are dating.
Mm-hmm.
But I really believe that you can apply that to yourself. Just don't worry so much about the man aspect of it.
Yeah, get men out of here.
Well, some of us like them, okay?
Fine,
some of us really enjoy them.
You guys can have them. I don't want them.
But just how women behave in relationships, that aspect of the information that he puts forward,
yes,
I think is very enlightening. It really is. And that's why I point you to him, even in your own situation. And just focus more on how women, what happens chemically in the brain, how you truly, no matter what's going on, you're in charge of your own emotions. Yes, people, we are in charge of our own emotions.
Oh my gosh, you said it.
You would never think it, but yes, we are.
Can you say it again for the people in the back? Like, I don't think they heard it.
Because, all these concepts I'm kind of throwing out in this one little conversation.
No, I love it.
Before we actually really think a thought, we get to decide whether or not we're going to have that thought.
Yes. I just thought about it right now.
And then our thoughts will help influence our feelings. And then our feelings can drive our actions. Right?
You are right, though. I've had times where I've been talking to like a female friend or whatever, and I'm like, they're cool. They're like a nice friend. And then I'll get a thought like, do I like them? And then like I go on this tangent for like 2 weeks about if I like them or not. I could have just saved myself the trouble. Or like somebody will spark something and they'll be like, oh, do you like her? And I was like, I didn't even think about that. And then I made myself think about it. And now I'm like all confused and stressed for no reason. Or like I try to take, not saying that dating advice is bad, but like, someone will give me advice like, oh, wait this long to text them for a date or do this or that. And I was like, no, I just don't do that. And it's like all confusing and stressful.
Yeah, well, I think the other important thing is we have to be us. Yes. We have to be ourselves. Because if a person is attracted to whatever you're putting out there, that's what they're attracted to.
Yeah.
So why not put yourself out there and only draw the people to you that would be interested in you? instead of us trying to fit ourselves into them and into their likes, celebrate yourself. Celebrate who you are. Because you know what? There's nobody else like you.
That's true. I did learn something about myself. I'm very upfront and honest. And I'm like, not that people hate that, but I was just like, oh, that's just something I don't know. I'm not a very secretive person. I'm like, hey, this is how I feel, or this is what happened, or this is what I did.
In your face, man!
In your face! Like that's what I do. And I think I was telling you about like an issue I had before, and I was like, oh, should I? And someone was like, oh, you shouldn't have been so honest. Like, you should have just like not said that. And I was like, I can't. I'm just like that. I have to be truthful. I feel weird not doing that.
You know, there's a woman where I work, and for the longest time, people have just had a very difficult time interacting with this woman.
Oh,
because she is truly, everything is out in the open.
I love that.
She hides nothing. Now, mind you, she could be a little brutal in some respects.
You look ugly today, now.
You know, but she's got the best heart ever.
That's awesome.
And if people understood that and took the time to understand that, then, oh my goodness, then all of a sudden they warm up to it. But initially it's intimidating and scary.
Yeah.
You know, because you don't really know. Here's this person dropping F-bombs, and here's this person, you know, cussing all over the place and going,
rough.
She used to tell me, Kathleen, I don't like you. I hate you. And I'm like, and I go, that's okay. I love you.
I love the way you receive it.
And I think the key was too, is I just called her out. Like, basically just said, listen, I see you. I see who you are. You've got the biggest heart around here. And because she has the biggest heart around, she's extremely sensitive. And this is just how she plays it out. But she's being fully herself. And I totally admire and appreciate her for that. And I think when we dive back into, right, when we were talking about that self-care, get to know you, dive deep inside, if you're feeling secure about who you are and you're loving you, when you're faced with a person like that, it's less intimidating. And then you can just push more of your energy that way, and just kind of wrap that person up in your energy, and know that it doesn't matter what they say or do.
You're right.
Because it really doesn't have to affect you.
No.
Right? Because you get to choose how you're gonna think about it.
You are completely right, because I remember somebody gave me advice, and pretty much they said, Sherry, the reason why people aren't dating you at the moment is because you have to change a lot of aspects about yourself. Like, you got to be aloof, and you got to do this, and that. I wasn't even like mad. I was just like, that is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. There's clearly horrible advice. And I was just like, okay, whatever you say. And I didn't change myself, but like somebody else might have like let that affect them and be like, oh my gosh, maybe there is something wrong with me. Which, I mean, understandably so. It's like, it's a little hard to hear, especially if you're friends with them. But I was just like, I love myself. And you know what? Like, I'm not,
Yeah. Well, and that comes back to, you know, we can all receive the information, and then it's up to us to discern the value of this information.
Yes.
And what's the validity of it. And all right, well, this little piece maybe I could take, but I'm just going to throw the rest away because it's just BS.
Right.
And truly, people are sharing from their experiences and what they know. And if they're sharing from their experiences and what they know,
exactly,
it's also a picture into who they are. Right? Or where they are in their own little journey. So this person who's sharing that with you, oh my goodness, they're playing games. Yeah. Because either someone taught it to them, or it's just something they think is supposed to happen. You know, that's how it's supposed to happen. And maybe there's a level of control that they feel they need to have, and that's why they do it. I mean, there's could be many reasons why people do what they do, but it definitely gives you a picture.
Oh, for sure.
You know, and again, you don't have to do, but if you just send the love that way and just say, okay, you know what, I'm going to love and respect, because I think those are important. Just love and respect that's where you are, that's who you are. I don't have to change you. No. I don't have to change your mind about it. I could smile, do just like what Cherry did, smile and say, okay, well, thank you for that. Yeah. I'll take that under consideration.
Yeah. And I love that you said, like, you know, send love, and just be like, send love and respect, because I feel like some people think that, you know, maybe you have a falling out with someone, you you have to brutally, actively like hate them or something. And you know, I'm just like, you know me. I don't hate anybody, and I'm just like, listen, we got off on the wrong foot, or we aren't friends, or we're not, whatever. But you know, I hope you're doing well, love and respect. And I think some people used to like get confused with me, and they're like, oh, so are you friends with that person, or do you like this person, or would you want to interact with them again? I'm like, no, because I love myself enough to not do that again. But I hope they're doing okay. I don't wish them any malice. So I do love when you say like the love and respect thing, because I think that's important.
It is important. And you know what? People are here for a specific time, and then it's time for them to move on. And, you know, okay, my time with them is over.
Honestly, yeah, that's how I feel sometimes. I'm like, all right, like, you know, I was telling you before about how like I was talking to a specific person, and that time it ended, and like in my body I felt like, all right, the egg timer went off, we're done. I love that story. This is done, and we're done, and I feel fine. And like it happened with other people, and it's like it's such a cool feeling to have.
Yeah, and I think if we're all truly honest with ourselves,
yes,
that if we stop resisting what's happening and we tune in to how it feels in our body, because that's why I love that story. You totally felt it. You felt it in your gut. If we tune into that, then we already have that answer, even sometimes ahead of time, before you know, some situation happens where it might be unpleasant to us, right? It's the resisting of it that makes it even more unpleasant.
Yes. I remember I like talked to you about something. I was like, oh, you know, I feel like, you know, I'm really frustrated with my friend. And then I think you told me like, I think you're like not going to be friends with them. I think it's kind of done. And you didn't even say mean or whatever. You were just kind of like, I think it's just kind of run its course. And I was like, no, we're going to go ahead for like 9 more months. And I felt awful. And then the egg timer went off, and I was like, I got to go. And I was like, that's really cool. And you always give me that, like, I don't know. You always have a saying like the answer is inside of you. And I was like, what does that mean? I don't understand what she's talking about, until I really meditate and I really look, and I was like, oh,
ding goes the timer.
Ding goes the egg timer, guys. Throw it in with the batch.
And I wasn't there for that, so that was in you.
I was like, oh, I guess it's done. Like, I guess like we need to run its course. And I've seen people so many times where like something should have ran its course a while ago, but they keep like cranking the egg timer, and like, you know, it's just very interesting when I see that happen.
Yeah, and it's hard.
Yeah.
All right, so what do you think you're gonna do then with this crush situation?
Well, see, I'm trying I don't know what my New Year's resolution is, but my new goal I have for myself is to like be more in tune with my body and what it's saying, and just these spiritual aspects, and meditate. And what it's telling me is like, hey man, you're too busy to be even dating anyone anyway. Also, not that anyone can't date, but like just spiritually, I feel like I'm just like not really should be dating right now. And also, that as tempting as it is to find someone new, because this is a habit that you keep doing, don't do that. It's gonna suck for a little bit, and then you're gonna be like, wow, I don't even really need someone. I could just be with myself and get to know myself and what Sherry wants and needs. But this period sucks, so I'm in it right now.
Well, I think it's about setting the priorities too.
Oh,
right?
for sure.
Because we can all say that we're too busy for something.
Oh, yeah.
But if the right person comes along, we're making time.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
and
let's face it.
That's a big thing that you told me, because I was talking to someone, and I was like, oh, we're going to like Zoom. It's going to be great. And they're like, oh, I'm too busy. And I'm just like, and you were like, listen, like if you really like them, you would have made the time. And I'm like, you're right.
Yeah. And sometimes it's just about recognizing that, and then again comes back to loving yourself enough to admit, okay, I can see that truth right in front of me, so I need to respect and love myself enough to just say, okay, you know what? They don't have time for me. I'm not forcing this, because my time's precious too, and I have all these other wonderful, great things going on here, and then you put your energy there, and it's wherever you focus your energy, it's where your attention's going to go.
Oh, for sure.
So, and then with you still doing all these many things that you have going on, who knows, maybe through these things, someone's just going to happen to just kind of float in, and you'll be like, whoa, how did that happen? Wow. Oh, this is so fun.
You're like, that was unexpected.
Yeah.
The best is when it's unexpected. That's
It
usually
is.
what ends up happening anyway. I've
It
never
is.
been like, I want to date someone right now. They show up and we date. Like, it always is just like I forgot about you. Or like, oh, we've been talking for a while.
Do you ever think that too with the crushes at any point in time? Did they feel kind of forced in some way? Like did you feel like you were being more one-sided with a part of your personality and you were pushing that version of you there? Or did you feel like this angst, some level of angst that like, oh, I gotta perform, I gotta do this,
I gotta perform.
I don't mean perform. I mean
yes.
show up.
I guess the worst analogy I can think of is when I had a crush on someone I worked with a while back. And I was telling my friend, I was like, listen, guys, it's like when you have a fly on your face and you don't know there's a fly on your face and someone points it out to you and you start freaking out. I think, like, I'll just overanalyze, right? I'll be friends with someone or, somewhat flirty, but not in like a I want to date you kind of way. Just I'm just naturally a flirty person. And then and someone will either bring it up or somebody will say something and then it just sets me off for some reason. I was like, oh God, I like that. What do I do? No! It's very like dramatic, but if no one says anything or I bring it up upon myself, I was like, they're a girl and like I like girls. Oh no! Like it's so something happens somewhere in there. And
I think it comes back to the playbook.
What playbook?
Well, all right, so my term, playbook. Like you were saying before, being gay and liking women and you're forcing on this male role onto yourself.
Yeah.
So that's the playbook, right? So what's my play? How do I approach this?
What do I do?
Yeah, what do I do?
Honestly, yeah. It's hard, yeah, because I'm just like, I don't know how to approach this. And then some people are just like, well, you got to do this or you got to do that. And most of it's like a lot of masculine stuff. And I'm just like, I don't know. Do girls like when you're just...
So answer me this question.
Yes.
You're a gay woman.
Gay woman, yes.
All right. A gay woman.
Yes.
Not a gay man.
Yes. A lesbian.
A lesbian.
Yeah.
All right. So along with that choice, is there anywhere in there that says you have to be butch?
No.
Is there anywhere in there that says you have to be a man, though you're a lesbian?
No.
A woman who's gay?
No.
No, right? So why not just be?
I'll just be myself.
Yeah.
I'm just Sherry.
I mean, I would.
I think that's like a cool option.
Listen, I am not a homosexual.
Well, thank you, Kathleen. I didn't know.
But
just so you know.
I do want you to know there are times where, I kind of felt neutral, especially when I was younger and I was figuring some stuff out, right?
Yeah.
That I wasn't female, I wasn't feminine, I wasn't masculine. I was kind of like right there. I was like neutral.
Yeah.
So it's always in neutral most of the time.
So you're in neutral most of your life. Okay.
But I still had feminine qualities, right? That's what people saw.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So even though in my heart and my mind, I didn't identify one way or the other. I mean, I still dated boys, don't get me wrong. I was really interested
okay,
in boys.
Kathleen.
But on an emotional level,
yeah,
I didn't really identify one way or the other. But I just inherently was me.
Yeah. No, I like that. That's
right?
how I feel too.
So I would recommend stop putting so much pressure on you to figure out what your role in this is, other than is this other person showing up equally as much as I am.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And then measure it that way.
Yeah.
And then you'll know just from your own heart and as a person, how you should show up and to what degree.
Makes sense. I always felt like very neutral too, because they're like, are you femme or butch? And like, there's like the culture and everything like that. And some people are like, oh, I'm super this or super that. And I'm just like, I am neutral. And you want to know how I know? Because I get confused with every gender every time I show up places. Sir, ma'am. And I'm like, well, I don't know what it is today.
Yeah, it's hard. Right?
Oh
There's a lot of variations out there. And all you can do is show up as you.
Yeah.
And you know what? And if people say, are you feminine? Are you masculine? Are you this? Are you that? You just smile and you go, I'm Sherry.
Yeah, I think you're right. Just because a lot of times when I would date people, they put like their labels on me too. They'll be like, "Oh, well, you look like this, so you have to perform this way." Or you seem like you would do this. And I was like, I don't want all that expectation though. I just want to be me. I just want to just do my thing. And I guess that's why it got drilled into my head earlier, like, oh, I guess I'm this because people I keep dating or liking keep saying I am. And I was like very insecure in my sexuality.
Yeah, it's hard as you're trying to figure that out, especially, since some of your choices may be considered against the norm, in my quotes.
In your
air
quotes, so you guys know.
Yeah, so, and that's hard, especially, for many other reasons that we won't go into in this conversation. But, so do you feel better? Do you feel like, you have some...
I do. I feel a nice load lifted. I feel like affirmation to be like, all right, we gotta like have some self-love on Sherry. Because I thought I did that before, but I was like, no, we need to revisit Sherry. Like, how's she doing? How's she feeling? What does she want out of relationships? Because I think I thought I knew what I wanted. I was like, I just want someone to show up. And I'm like, we need a little more than that. And I think before I was like, oh, if I'm just really upfront with these girls and say what I want, it'll work out. It just doesn't work.
It's funny. You were saying you just want somebody to show up.
Mm-hmm.
So there it is.
Yes.
You need to show up
I need to show up for me.
Uh-huh.
I need to show up for me.
Yeah.
All right. Let's show it.
So you show up for you,
yes.
Right? And then that other piece that we were just talking about, that you don't need to be like the men in the movies, right? You just need to be you.
Yeah, I like being me. It's fun.
And that's your playbook. Right?
Here's my big old playbook. Be Sherry.
That's right.
Be awesome.
And it's this thick. It's like 4 inches thick of saying, be Sherry. Boys is heavy.
Gosh, I know. I got to write that down somewhere. Be Sherry.
Yeah, just be you. And then again, just make sure that you're not putting in more than the other person.
That is an issue I struggle with.
Yeah, especially in the very beginning. I mean, in all relationships, sometimes it's 70-30. One person will be 70 one time and then it flips, right?
Yeah.
But in the very beginning,
yes,
just make sure, that's, if you're looking to see, are they putting an equal measure? Like, are they just as interested? Are they making the time? Are they making an effort equal to the effort that you're wanting to make? And then match their effort. For a little while, and just see where it goes. And if they keep pulling back, then if you're matching and you're pulling back, then you're realizing, and then you're doing something good for you too.
Oh, I like that. That's so nice.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much for sharing all of this with me and with whomever else is listening. And I hope that this is helpful to everyone. I'm sure it will be.
Oh, for sure.
So thanks.
Of course. Thanks for having me on, Kathleen. I feel very honored.
Don't feel honored. I feel very privileged and honored too that you would share with me.
Of course.
We're so silly.